Hello, it's DBJ, and we're going to listen to my words, thoughts, and feelings on what is action economy. Um, well, of course, we define action is the act or process of doing something or committing ourselves to a course, and economy is the management of resources. So, in a role-playing setting, action economy most likely deals with the number and power of the actions the players have versus how many attacks or actions and the strength of the power that the game master is utilizing at the time. The biggest problem comes in with action economy when a game master wants to have a big bad boss fight and they've got 3 or 4 player characters, right? So they roll initiative, which I guess I could define that is basically in role-playing parlance is who goes first, who acts in what order. Player characters go first. You have 3 player characters. That means they each have a minimum of 1 action or attack before the game master gets to have the big bad do something. And 99% of the time, this is where new game masters have a lot of problems, and the new players feel, it's like they feel that it doesn't have the drama, the action, and that tension that they were looking for in their role-playing game. So I'm going to define it, come up with some solutions, and look for some of my other videos that talk about boss fighting and draining resources. Okay, so how do we solve the issue of action economy? If you've got 3 players who have a minimum of 3 actions, many times in many role-playing games, depending on their ability levels or powers, they may have more than 1 action. They're able to, strike twice, shoot a blast, fly through the air, teleport, turn invisible, change size, offer bonuses to other player characters that are in a group who also have multiple actions, and the boss hasn't gone first. Well, first of all, the game master should understand that there is no boss that will ever show up to fresh characters if they can help it. Criminals do not want to fight the police when there are the maximum number of police officers with the largest amount of firepower available. They will have them running, scrambling, having a lack of knowledge, and being disorganized. Bosses will try to fight and confront player characters when they are at their weakest, when they have not had a short rest. Definitely if they've not had a long rest in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Ever. If they can help it. Yes, the player characters can outsmart the bad guys, but the bad guys will try to harry them, push them, make them run. They will not let them have any kind of rest. Short rests are a little difficult because players can hide or attempt to hide for about an hour before being found. But beyond that, no. Long rests are probably out of the question. Unless the bad guy harries them to have them utilize most of their resources, which is my suggestion, that a bad guy is going to send powerful adversaries after the player characters before anything happens, right? So if, let's say you're using a pit fiend and you want the pit fiend to be the major bad guy, he's not going to show up first. Even in the game, you look at the stat, like, hey, he can summon up some help. He's got some ice devils or something, or demons or whatever. I can't remember which one. I think Baylors are demons and pit fiends are devils or whatever. Anyway, summon up some adversaries. Even if they're cannon fodder, throw them against the players. Players start burning their resources. Boom, here comes the pit fiend after they've used 6 spell slots and lost half their hit points. That's what's going to happen. All right, it's not fair, but that's what bad guys do. They don't fight fair. But let's get back to the specifics. The specific thing of action economy. What you do is have adversaries to fight the player characters, but reskin them as the powers of the bad guy. So Pit Fiend shows up, and an invisible hand grabs one of the player characters by the throat, throwing them against the wall. A blast of energy comes out of the Pit Fiend's hand, circling around the characters, blasting it over and over again in fire. A spiritual, almost intangible form of the Pit Fiend flies after one of the characters, passing through a wall, grabbing them by the arms and draining its life. Well, what did I do? Are those really superpowers? No. Maybe there's an invisible stalker and a will-o'-the-wisp or a fire elemental or a ghost. Just use stat blocks and reskin them as powers, as the magical / superpowers of your bad guys. So if the bad guy can summon fire or energy or force or darkness or something, the Pit Fiend's shadow comes alive and fights the others as a shadow formed of the Pit Fiend, and just make it a shadow demon or a shadow itself. Just reskin what already exists with the regular powers and limitations that are already in the book. You can reskin them. Here's another thing. You have the ability to create other monsters. So make up stats and give them hit points. Instead of a fireball that the Pit Fiend uses, allow it to be a ball of fire with 50 hit points, some kind of armor class, and it does X amount of damage, and you're done. Right? It has a bonus to hit. You're done. Okay? Just pull something out of the stat blocks. Equal to or more than a number of actions than the player characters have. That will put them on their toes, because if they ignore this quote-unquote power and energy that's coming out of the bad guy, then the game master just has, great, I have free attacks and you're not doing anything to stop it. Also, foreshadow the ability of the player characters to be able to affect these quote-unquote powers being used as creatures to equalize the action economy, right? So the bad guy summons a ball of fire. The ball of fire starts streaking around and attacking the player characters. The player characters may assume that this is a spell and I cannot strike it with my sword, or I cannot shoot at it with a spell of frost or something. You must foreshadow how this is affecting them. So the blast of fire hits you. It is almost solid in its force as it attempts to knock you down. There is a chance that you may actually be able to strike at it just as you can strike at the bad guy, or something like that, to that effect. And mind you, when I do these videos, I come off the top of my head. I really don't have any notes. I just come up with like one line and I start going wild with it. With just 5 minutes of prep, 10 minutes of prep, you can create for yourself a bad guy. And of course, I'm using a Pit Fiend as an example, but it could be a demon, a vampire, a wizard, a mechanical entity, or something like that. Just use stat blocks that you have of other creatures and just reskin them. And you can come out with this in many other ways, right? You can have zombies and skeletons, and then add mold, rot grubs, snakes inside of the bodies of the zombies, doubling or tripling their effects. So if there are skeletons with swords and there's 2 snakes in each skeleton, there are 10 skeletons, that's 30 adversaries. 1 skeleton and 2 snakes in each one. Or maybe the zombies are covered in oozes or fungus or like insects or something like that. So now you have zombies, beetles, swarms of insects, plus rats, plus snakes. You can add all those things together to make it more challenging, more complicated, and to increase on a mechanical level, to equalize and alter the action economy of one side over the other. And lastly, have the bad guy's minions show up first. They're going to be his front line, or her, or its frontline defense. Have them show up first. Players start using their you know, barbarian starts berserkering first. The bard starts handing out inspiration first. This wizard starts casting defensive spells first. And then when that stuff starts to fade away, the bad guy shows up and goes, aha, here I am. You thought you were fighting me, but so and so. So action economy is the normally considered in RPG the number of attacks and movement and damage done and other bonus actions or simple actions that the players have versus how many the game master has. And so my suggestion is equalize it. Give the bad guy just as many or more actions as possible, and then just reskin anything that you already have in the books, whether they're traps, monsters, the environment, that kind of thing. Check out my Down the Drain video about draining PC resources, and also my 7 tips to a better boss fight. Check that video out. I might leave links below, but who knows me? I'll end up forgetting it anyway. So I'm DBJ, and as always, you know, when in doubt, role play it out.